Am I the jerk for refusing to buy my child medication? Throwaway account. I, male 35, have been separated from my ex Anna, female 35, for around 6 months. We have a child Tom, male 4. Anna and Tom stayed living in our marital home and I moved to a place 20 minutes drive away. Anna called me last night about 10:45 p.m. saying Tom was sick and he'd just been diagnosed with an ear infection. They'd had a virtual appointment with the doctor. She put him on video call and I could see he was crying and holding his ear and kept saying how much his ear hurt. Anyway, the doctor had told her to give Tom some pain relief and also prescribed some antibiotics, but said only use the antibiotics if really necessary, like they could wait for the morning if necessary. Here's where the problem is. All the pharmacies where Anna and Tom live close pretty early at night, like 8 p.m. Anna said she could get the antibiotics in the morning but she didn't have any pain relief medication for Tom at home and she really needed to get some of that to help ease his pain and let him get a good sleep. Turns out there's a 24-hour pharmacy in the suburb I live in, so she asked me if I could pick it up, drive 20 minutes to hers to drop it off and then drive 20 minutes back home. Now bear in mind this is around 10:45 p.m. so I probably wouldn't get home until just before midnight. I was actually already in bed when she called and my job requires lots of driving so I need to be really alert, so I said no, I wouldn't be able to pick up the medication for her. Anyway, we got into an argument. She says I'm the jerk because our son was sick and needed pain relief and I should have put his needs first. She says she would have to take him out in the cold at night while he's sick. But like I said to her, what would she have done if I was at my GF's house, which is an hour away? I think she should have pain relief medication at home for emergencies like this. Like that's just poor planning on her part. I also feel like if I don't have enough sleep for my job it could be dangerous for myself and others on the road. So what do you think? Am I the jerk? My child was visibly in pain and I refused to take an hour out of my evening to relieve that pain. Is this a joke? You're the jerk. You're the jerk. Okay, that excuse would fly if you were at your girlfriend's house, but you weren't. You were in bed. So instead, your ex has to take your screaming child with her in the cold weather in the middle of the night to a pharmacy in order to buy him Tylenol and then drive him back home again while he's crying from the pain he's in. She is so lucky to have dodged a bullet by divorcing your useless A. Am I the jerk for getting my daughter a hotel room entirely for herself after her stepsisters made her sleep on the floor? My dad passed away 2 weeks ago. Me, my wife Candace and my daughter, 16, Shiloh and her stepsisters, 19 and 17, flew to my hometown to attend the funeral. After that we got 2 hotel rooms, one for me and Candace, one for the girls. While I was in the room, I got a call from Shiloh at 11 p.m. crying and sounded like she was arguing with her stepsisters. I asked what the matter was and she told me that her stepsisters insisted that she sleep on the floor. There were one large bed in the room and there was enough space for all 3 girls to sleep on. I asked why and she said she didn't know. I went to see what the issue was and talked with my stepdaughters about it. They kept talking but didn't really explain why they told her to sleep on the floor. They just shrugged and said it's better this way ... We're more comfortable this way. I told Shiloh to grab her things and when one of my stepdaughters asked where we were going, I told her I was booking her a hotel room. Both looked upset but didn't say anything, but they must have called their mum because she was awake when I got back and started arguing with me about giving Shiloh an entire hotel room for herself. I explained why I did it but she said I wasted money and that Shiloh could have sucked it up for one night on the floor. I called her unreasonable for saying this but she told me I showed the girls that I'm playing favorites and made my stepdaughters share a room while I gave my daughter an entire room for herself. We went home and Candace is still bringing it up saying I mishandled this. She even pointed out how my stepdaughters are upset since they're not speaking to me. Edit. It was Candace who got a room for the 3 girls as to not stir any drama and save money. She was in charge of hotel reservations since I was emotionally distressed. Also, Candace did not expect Shiloh to sleep on the floor. She wanted all 3 girls to share the bed. Edit 2. For those that are calling me a joke for giving my daughter her name, her mom did that and she's deceased, so please let's not focus on that. And also, I've known my stepdaughters since they were little. We're pretty much family and Candace is a stay-at-home mum, but I give her full access to my money since this stuff was already discussed beforehand. Pretty much everything was. What I'm getting from this is that your stepdaughters were trying to live up to the Disney depiction of stepsisters and were shocked when they couldn't just bully her into getting what they want. What's extra gross is that they did it when coming back from Shiloh's grandparents' funeral. Talk about cruel. You're definitely not the jerk. But also WTF is wrong with Candace if she sees this as playing favorites? Her daughters tried to make yours sleep on the floor for fun. Sounds like the apples don't fall far from the tree. Have you pointed out your daughter is also upset because of the situation and she is playing favorites? Worse, the stepsisters got what they wanted, but were upset that the person who they took advantage of was accommodated. Am I the jerk for moving my son into a rental apartment after finding out that his dad's been cancelling his job applications? My son Aiden, 23, moved back in with us upon graduating college as my husband wanted. My husband's original plan was to have Aiden live with us for free, but stay home and help with his disabled younger brother, 16. Aiden started complaining about needing money and wanted to find a job. My husband was against this and even offered to double his allowance, but Aiden was growing tired of staying at home. So he began looking for jobs here and there for over a year, but none of his job applications came through. He'd just apply and they never get back to him. We were confused by this till recently. I found out that my husband was behind all the job applications being cancelled. He'd wait until Aiden applies, then he proceeds to cancel the application by impersonating him and using his email. I blew up at him for this, but his justification is that he's just trying to make sure that our younger son is cared for by Aiden, and said that Aiden has been a big help and him getting a job will affect his care for his brother. I went ahead and rented an apartment for Aiden and told him to stay there till he finds a job and starts paying for it himself. Aiden was hurt upon knowing what his dad did. My husband was livid when he found out. He called me unhinged and said that I was separating the boys and teaching Aiden to become selfish and care more about a job than family. He also said it was a huge decision for me to rent an apartment without even running it with him. He's been giving me hell about it and is calling me a terrible mother for encouraging Aiden to be selfish and self-centered. He said I needed to see and understand why he did what he did. Edit. 1. My husband says that since he and I have health issues, then we could use Aiden's help. 2. When I suggested outside help, my husband refused, saying he won't ask anything from anybody and that his son is his problem and nobody else's. 3. I used money from our joint account to pay for the rental apartment. My husband said it was wrong and that it was a major waste of money since we deal with medical bills consistently. Not the jerk. A 23-year-old cannot exist on allowance and he's not a de facto caretaker. Your husband seems unhinged. You did the right thing for your son. OP responds to this, you're right. His allowance wasn't enough even with my husband's offer to double it. It's not a solution. Another Redditor replies, even if it was enough, it would be different if there had been a discussion, and Aiden had chosen to care for his brother, accepting a certain amount of pay. Being forced to make that choice by deceit, especially when that allowance could pay for at least some amount of care, is unacceptable. Not the jerk. Am I the jerk for calling my girlfriend selfish for refusing to learn sign language for my daughter? My daughter Ruby was born mute. She can understand words, but we use sign language to communicate. While she can use her phone alright, obviously she prefers to sign. The issue is my girlfriend, Amanda. We've been dating for around 9 months, and introduced our children around 3 months ago. They don't know sign language, so communication with Ruby was awkward at first. She hates having to write or use her phone at home. So I taught Amanda some basic signs beforehand, and I've continued teaching her and Mia more in this time. Mia is getting a lot better actually. But Amanda has apparently decided it's too hard and refuses to learn anymore. She says that it's unnecessary since Ruby can understand her and communicate other ways. While Ruby is usually willing to do that for them, she doesn't enjoy it and finds it frustrating. I told Amanda she's being selfish and lazy. That it's not fair to put all the effort on Ruby. It's one thing if she doesn't get it after years, but it's only been a few months. It's just ridiculous. We got into a fight over it and she basically called me an asshole and said it's not her fault she struggles with it. But that doesn't mean just give up. If she wants to be in our life, it's the bare minimum effort to put in. I clearly think she's just being selfish, while she thinks I'm an asshole and unfair. I vented to my brother and he agreed with Amanda. That I can't force her to learn and not everyone is good with language. And that Ruby doesn't need it and I'm coddling her. I'm honestly still pissed off, but I do love Amanda. She's normally thoughtful and kind, and I guess it's possible it's just me being overprotective of Ruby. I think it's a reasonable expectation, but I'm starting to doubt myself. Not the jerk. Do you see a future with a woman who point-blank refuses to speak to your daughter? OP response. It's not that she refuses, they do have a way to talk. It's just not as preferred for her. Either way I think it's wrong. I was already thinking was worth ending it. It's just my brother and her got in my head and I worried I was crazy. Another Redditor writes, You're not crazy. And this is a red flag for your brother, too. I hope he has learned to sign so he can communicate with your daughter too. Maybe this is this way of excusing his own lack of engagement? No jokes here. She met your children 3 months ago and struggles to pick up sign language. While you have a right to choose a partner who will meet your daughter on her level, 3 months is hardly a lot of time. I think you could have an honest discussion and say, I really love you but I will never propose to and marry someone who won't learn sign language given my daughter. I understand that our relationship is still fairly new and it's a lot to ask, but I won't move forward unless that is something you are willing to do. This will set clear expectations and open and honest dialogue. Amanda will have to make her own decision and you can proceed accordingly. I suspect you'll have your answer within a few months. If I were to guess you will break up, but if not, that means she stepped up. Good luck. Am I the jerk for not wanting to work around my girlfriend's daughter's nap schedule? My girlfriend has an 8-year-old daughter with a heart condition. I have a 7-year-old daughter and 10-year-old son. My girlfriend's daughter has very specific needs that can be hard to work around. She can only be with one babysitter, so if we want to go out without the kids, we have to go on the babysitter's schedule. If we do want to bring the kids, we have to be at her house by 7 so her daughter can be in bed by 8. Day trips are nearly impossible because she takes a 2 to 3 hour nap at 12, so we either have to be driving for those 2 to 3 hours, we have to leave after she wakes up, or we have to get a hotel/motel/Airbnb for her to take a nap. Yes, we've actually done this before. Then there's all of the hospital stays to work around too. She stays in the hospital for 2 nights every 14 days. I only have 50-50 custody of my kids, so it's very hard to get the kids together because of all of this. Sure, we can go to Build-A-Bear, the indoor playground down the street from her house, or out for ice cream, but you can only do that so many times before the kids get bored of it. I've been trying to plan a weekend trip to an amusement park for so long, but she wants to make us all work around her daughter's nap schedule. The amusement park doesn't open until 10, but we'd have to leave at 11:30 so she could go back to the hotel for her daughter to take a nap. We could go after she wakes up, so we'd probably get in at around 3:30, but the water rides close at 5, so my kids would only get to ride 1, maybe 2 water rides, then another couple regular rides before we'd have to go back for her daughter to go to bed. She wants to do something that would be more accessible to her daughter. She can't go on the bigger rides or water slides, and her having to take a nap would take a lot of time from the rides and games, like the beach, and rent a place where we can do things in the house instead of having to go out all the time. But my kids really want to do the amusement park trip. I eventually told her we're going to the amusement park. She and her daughter are welcome to join, but we won't be leaving early for naps or an early bedtime. She says I'm dismissing her daughter's needs, but I think she's refusing to take anyone else's needs into account. Edit from OP. My girlfriend just texted me that since I'm unwilling to compromise and find an accessible activity that everyone would enjoy, she booked a last-minute 7-day cruise for herself and her daughter so the kids and I can do whatever the crap we want, but she won't have any part in it. Honestly, who is in the right or in the wrong here seems irrelevant to me. If you cannot realistically accommodate your girlfriend's disabled daughter without sacrificing your own children's well-being, emotionally included, then this relationship probably needs to end. No jerks here for the bot, I guess. Edited to add, I am updating my vote to you're the jerk based on the fact, which you conveniently left out of your post and admitted to in the comments, that you were trying to split the cost with your girlfriend because you can barely afford to take your kids yourself. You revealed in your comments it would be more affordable to take all 3 kids and your girlfriend because she would effectively pay for more than half the trip, that is, more than her fair share, despite the fact that she and her daughter are only 2 people, while you and your kids come to 3. Did you seriously ask your girlfriend to subsidize a trip without taking her daughter's needs into consideration? It is downright cruel to expect your girlfriend to pay for an experience her disabled daughter can't really enjoy. You are well within your rights to take your kids on a trip focused on them. In fact, that is very normal and healthy. Blended families should have time apart. But it was wrong of you to suggest a group trip where your girlfriend would subsidize you and your kids while not accommodating her daughter's needs. Am I the jerk for telling a teacher she needs to tell me if my kid is in the advanced track? My daughter is in 5th grade, and at the end of the year they are placed into different groups, advanced, average, and below average. It's a test run for what group they will be going into middle school. If they are in the advanced classes in middle school, it's a much better education. When they are done with middle school they would have done a few high school credits. The average track is also decent, but the other track is way too slow. If you are in it you will never get out of that group. Everyone at school knew the blue track was the advanced one. White equals average and gold equals below average. They changed it. The groups are now purple, blue, pink, and green. There are now 4 and I don't know which is which. My daughter is in the pink group. I contacted the school, and they told me they are not releasing which group is which. I'm annoyed now, and when I pick up my daughter I ask her teacher. She told me the same thing. She won't tell me. I insist that she tells me, and she tells me its parents like me are the reason that the groups changed and are a secret now. I talked to my mom about this and she agreed with the teacher and that I need to chill out. Yep, you're the jerk. Enough peeps like you talked up and down the children in an unproductive, possibly harmful, way, and the school is attempting to correct that. Let them. You're the jerk. Your daughter is in 5th grade, she doesn't need that kind of pressure from anybody. If you're worried about her falling behind, politely ask the teacher if there are any subjects you spend some extra practice time on at home. This way you can help your daughter learn without teaching her to fixate on whether she's in the smart track or not. All you're teaching her with your current behavior is that her worth is tied up in whatever grade she gets. Kids are smart, she'll pick up on how much you care about whatever group she's in and she'll internalize that shit.